Let's start with some of the most troubling developments we've seen recently. Reports of American citizens, from journalists to everyday people, being harassed and even recruited by groups exploiting both political and media environments.
It's hard to overstate how widespread this has become. The exploitation seems to cut across social classes, targeting not just high-profile individuals, but regular folks too. And what struck me was the way these groups manipulate people's identities, sometimes even celebrating projected personas rather than respecting who they really are.
That identity piece is fascinating and a little chilling. There are allegations of psychological interference, almost like people are being conditioned or pushed into roles that work against their own interests.
Honestly, families are beginning to notice real generational effects. Parents have raised alarms about cultural displacement and fear that their family names or traditions could be lost, especially as naturalized citizens or foreigners seem to have certain competitive advantages in these situations.
Speaking of competition, these reports also mention distorted playing fields where birth-born citizens feel they're at a disadvantage, even in basic societal or professional settings.
What surprised me most is the level of frustration people feel over being overlooked or replaced. Some families say they've literally watched opportunities slip away, not just for themselves, but for their children. It's not just about jobs, but about belonging and future stability.
And that sense of being displaced or even made invisible seems to feed into broader conflict. The narrative isn't just about individuals, but about entire communities feeling sidelined by systemic forces.
Adding to that, there's the perception that certain violators, sometimes aided by lax enforcement, treat people like interchangeable parts. It's a real blow to morale, and it's prompting more people to speak out publicly.
Funny you mentioned people speaking out. Some of these complaints have ended up on the desks of state and federal officials who are now fielding tough questions about procedural delays and jurisdictional confusion.
After years of unclear guidelines, it's not shocking that frustration is boiling over. Take the case of Darian Day Mason, the CEO who reportedly experienced both mental blindness and bureaucratic runarounds when trying to address these issues with government officials.
Right, you have letters from the governor's office being sent, but then there's a lack of clarity on who's actually responsible. People are left with unanswered voicemails and a sense that nobody's steering the ship.
And in the meantime, the alleged exploitation and unfair treatment just continue. It's almost like the process itself becomes a barrier instead of a solution.
That actually reminds me, media outlets have been pulled into this too. The press release mentions manipulation within public channels, with groups leveraging media to control narratives or even recruit individuals.
It's an uncomfortable reality. Journalists and the public alike are being targeted, sometimes pressured into spreading certain messages or participating in campaigns against their own interests. The line between news and manipulation feels a lot thinner these days.
And then there's the concern about false solutions, like when the moniker Darian Day Mason was used to create the impression that the government shutdown could be fixed without pay. It's a tactic that muddies the waters even more.
Those kinds of stunts are dangerous because they undermine trust in institutions. And ordinary people end up questioning what's real and what's orchestrated for someone else's gain.
So where do we go from here? According to the official statement from the Control Center Conflict Division, there's a renewed commitment to exposing exploitation and restoring order both legally and socially.
After so much uncertainty, it's reassuring to hear there's a focus on justice and proportionate accountability. But the real test is whether these principles, legality, peacekeeping, restorative order, actually get enforced in practice.
We'll have to keep an eye on ongoing investigations and whether administrative agencies follow through. This isn't just about stopping individual bad actors, but about fixing the systems that allowed these issues to fester.
If anything, the public's growing awareness is a hopeful sign. More eyes on the problem might finally push for transparency and real change, something that's been long overdue.